So this is the second part of the Module 2 lecture. And so what I want to talk about is I want to talk about the difference between a web page and a website. So a web page basically is an individual page. So last time we were looking at like rollerblade stuff. Let me do a share screen here. And so basically a web page is just, let me start Firefox and move it. I'll just go to Amazon.com. Now you can see the URL here is https www.amazon.com. And that means that the S there, the HTTPS, means that it's a secure connection, which means it's being encrypted. So you always want to look at that if you're doing banking or you're doing something sensitive online to make sure that the S is there, or that you can also just look at this little lock here and you can see that the lock is closed. So that means it's a secure connection. Now, let me just go to a page here of something. Here, what about that? Okay, so this is a web page. And in this case, it's just a page about a particular product. So a website is typically defined as being more than one web page. And what do the web pages have in common, or how do we define, what web pages make up a website? Well, a website typically has a domain name, a unique domain name, and all of the pages that are part of that domain name are the website. And like I said before, we typically navigate on the internet using, and from web page to web page, using links. So I'm sure I have a link here to something. So I can navigate within this website by clicking on, here, I'll click, this is a link, right? Now it's a graphic and text. I can click on either one. So that's going to take me to a different page. Now, some links will take us to different websites. Now it'll take us to an individual page of that website, but so links don't have to necessarily just be within a website. Now, when we need something on the internet, we typically use a search engine. And a search engine, like Google, is very useful because it lets us type in some kind of query, and then that query will search, or the search engine will use that query to search through its database of websites. So remember one thing that you're not doing when you're using a web search engine is you are not searching the internet. You're searching a database of websites that the search engine has gathered and organized and searched out the keywords for. And so here, let's say I do coffee makers with grinder. So my query will be coffee makers with grinder, and now Google is searching its own database, and it's pulling up a list of things that are ads. So see, it says drip coffee makers with grinders. That's an ad. And then it's got these things. And here it says coffee maker with grinder, Amazon. That's an ad. Home Depot. I didn't even know they sold coffee grinders, but that's an ad also. And then after that, I start getting, these are all called hits, by the way, HITS. And so I start getting other hits. So here, 8 coffee makers with grinders, 8 best ones. And this is a link. So there's a brief description, and then there is a link, something that I can click on. So let's click on this one, 10 best coffee makers, and see what we get. So these are the 10 best coffee makers according to this website. And then I can click on a link and look, it's taking me to Amazon's webpage about this product. Holy cow, that's an expensive coffee maker. Okay, so, ooh, this is interesting. I'll have to come back to this page. Now, remember that Google and Bing and Yahoo are generalized search engines, which basically means they're good for this kind of search. But if we're looking for something more specific, say journal articles or medical journal articles, or I'm looking for a person or a trip. Let's say I want to find the best price to a certain country. Then there are many, many specialized search engines that I can use. So one of the things that we need to be aware of is how to efficiently use the internet. Because the good thing about the internet is that there's so much information out there that you can access. But the bad thing about the internet is that there's so much information out there. So finding exactly what it is that you need can become a little bit of a hassle. And typically, like when I do a search here, let me go back and see how many results I got. And I can see right at the very beginning, I got about 34,800,000 results, which is too many. Especially if I want to find what it is that I'm looking for in a certain time frame. I want to be as efficient as I can possibly be in my searches. Now, my coffee maker with grinder search is kind of a general search, but let's say that I need to do a paper on the causes of the Great Depression. So I'll type in causes of the Great Depression. And now I have an ad, causes of the Great Depression. This is Britannica. I know that this is an Encyclopedia Britannica website. What caused the Great Depression? People also ask. So Google here is saying, hey, you might not find exactly what it is that you're looking for here, but here's some other search phrases that other people are used. So for instance, if you were trying to find the three main causes of the main causes of the Great Depression, then here's a question that somebody asked, and it says the stock market crash, bank failures, and a drought. And it gives me the option to search for what were the three main causes of the Great Depression. And now what I've done basically is I have used Google to refine my query, my search term. So the first step is to kind of figure out what it is that we're looking for and type in a query. The second step when we're using a search engine is to then evaluate our results. And look, I have 257 million results. So that's too many for me to evaluate. So one of the things that we can do is we can refine or try to refine the query to make it more specific. So, and by the way, when we evaluate our results, we tend to look at, you know, the first page here. Maybe if I don't find my first page here, maybe I don't find what it is I'm looking for, I may go to the second page. But typically we don't go much further than that unless we're really, really not finding what it is that we're looking for, and the thing that we're finding is important. It's due tomorrow. or it's due in a couple of days and I need to really find it. So again, I did the 3 main causes of the Great Depression, and I got 275 million results, which is too many. So maybe I can say, although it looks like these are pretty good, maybe I can refine this. So the 3 main causes, maybe I should go for the 3 main economic causes and see if that helps me. Hey, I've eliminated, 73 million results, which now puts me at 202 million. So I'm still getting this Causes of the Great Depression Britannica up top. And I'm going to guess it's because, even though it doesn't say add here, that because a lot of people use the Encyclopedia Britannica, or that maybe the Encyclopedia Britannica has bought some keywords. And so you have to be kind of careful about a lot of this is probably good. So let me go ahead and click on it and see if it's any good. It seems like it's a decent enough website. It seems like there is some information here that I could use, but it doesn't seem very, very super detailed. And probably the reason it's popping up at the top is, like I said, Britannica has somehow bought some keywords to bring them up to the top of the hits, the results list. So I'm going to look at some more here. 5 causes of the Great Depression. What caused the Great Depression? Causes of the Great Depression. So I'm going to, main economic causes of the Great Depression. I'm going to try to refine this a little bit. I'm going to get rid of some of these what were, because those words really don't help me when I'm doing a query. 3 main economic causes of the Great Depression, 1929. I'm down, just by adding 1929, I'm down to 20,900,000 results. So now I've eliminated a lot of results, which makes it a little bit more likely that what it is that I need to find is going to come up in the first couple of pages. Now, still, this is a lot of results. But let's see if I can get close. Well, that's Wikipedia. U.S. history, let's try that one. Well, that doesn't look great because it's only a page. Here's an article. Oh, I am getting some. So this is breaking it down a little bit. What do I think? Anyway, I don't want to get bogged down in looking for and refining this even further. But you can always see these related searches down here. Google does this at the bottom here. What caused the stock market crash? So maybe that's what I'm really going for. Great Depression timeline. How long did the Great Depression last? So here are some other related searches that I can use without having to come up with stuff. So one of the things is to refine our query. And in this case, I've refined it pretty well. I don't know how else to narrow it down. And maybe Google isn't giving me what it is that I want. So maybe a better idea would be to look for a different search engine that maybe was more specifically tuned to what it is that I'm looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this query here, and I'm going to look for let's say economic search engines. Economics and finance research. Search engines, The Economist. This looks like it's giving me results for the economics of search engines. The 100 search engines for academic research. So let's try that and see what I come up with, because there are many what we call specialty search engines. And so am I going to get 100? Academic search engines are great resources. So let's try RefSeek, and let's do causes of the Great now I'm seeing signs of bipolar. And this is an ad. Causes of the Great Britannica is coming up again. Wikipedia, what caused the Foundation for Economic, see, now I'm getting a different Foundation for Economic Education. 4 phases, easy money. Hey, so I might be finding something. This is a little bit longer article, right? It's a little bit more detailed. It's breaking things up. So maybe I found, wow, this is a lot longer. So maybe by using a different search engine, now I've got a better chance of finding what it is that I wanted to find. So this had 148 million results, which is still a lot, but here I can go to documents. And let's take a look at one of these. This is a PDF. The Great Depression, an overview. What caused the Great Depression? And so this is more like a paper that's been done instead of a website. So what are my results here? There are 70,600,000. So obviously the Great Depression is still a big category for documents. But you can see that I have really narrowed it down. And all I had to do was switch search engines. So that's our last step, kind of, is to evaluate the search engine that we're using. Is it the right one to find what it is that I'm looking for? And should I use a specialty search engine? And the trick is, you don't have to know what search engine you should use, but the trick is to know that you can do a search for specialty search engines for, and I just did off the top of my head when I did a search for economic search engines. Oops, let me go back one. Right, I found that article, 100 search engines for academic research, and I just picked one. And I was able to find some decent information there. If I didn't, hey, look, I have a whole bunch more. National Archives, NASA Historical Archive, I have British Library Catalogs and Collections, CIA World Factbook. Ooh, that sounds interesting. So I have all kinds that I can pick from, and there are 100 here, and so what's number 100? The Literary Encyclopedia, Literature, History, and Culture, quotes.net. And each one has a little description, so you can find stuff. History Buff, Online Newspaper Archive. Also sounds interesting. Okay, so I don't want to jump down that wormhole, but a rabbit hole. Anyway, what I'm saying is that it's easy to find specialty search engines that will help you narrow your query down and hopefully let you find the information that you're looking for. So step 1, formulate a query. Pick a search engine is really step 1. Formulate a query and type it in. Evaluate the results. If you're not getting what you need, reevaluate the query. Try to narrow it down. Reevaluate some results. And then if you do that twice or 3 times and you can't figure out how to modify the query anymore, well, try looking for a different search engine. Because like I said at the beginning, when we are using a search engine, we are not searching the internet. We are searching the database of that particular search engine. So a different search engine will give you different results. And a specialty search engine will cut out kind of all of the Wikipedia kind of stuff, the general stuff that we kind of get with any search engine. So, and by the way, I did get the Wikipedia thing until I clicked on documents, and then that went away. So I did get the Wikipedia entry for the causes of the Great Depression. Excuse me. So that's the best way to use a search engine. What else? I've covered all of this. Now, one of the things that we have to be able to do is we have to be able to evaluate information that is online. And I guess one of the ways to talk about that is, well, let me go back here. Let's go to history.com. So the first thing that I'm going to look at is whose website is this? Where am I? And so history.com, I know that's the History Channel logo, so I'm going to assume it's the History Channel. So I'm going to guess that this is a fairly reputable website. And then I'm going to look at who wrote this. So here it says history.com editors. And there's a link. So I'll go ahead and click on it. And it's going to explain to me what they mean by that. And so a wide range of writers and editors create accurate and informative content. They're regularly reviewed, the articles are, and updated by the history.com team. And then it names some of the editors. And then it's giving me some other articles for history.com editors. So I'm going to guess that this is an okay article. There's nobody particular associated with it. But there are plenty of references here. And so I can probably take this as being probably pretty factual. Oh, this is actually a pretty good article. It seems like it's long at least. And it's talking about things like women in the Great Depression, which I hadn't seen before. That the Great Depression ends and World War II begins. And then it's giving me some picture galleries and some other stuff. It's giving me a URL, when it was accessed. Yes, that's today. Last updated, it was updated February 28th, 2020. And it was originally published October 29th, 2009. So these are all things that I want to know, because this article has been around for a while, but it's been looked at fairly recently and edited fairly recently. So let's see if I can find another one, and if we can figure out whether it's a good TexasGetaway.org. So who is this? Grade range, causes of the Great Depression. So this is online sources by TEA. And who's TEA? So I'm going to click about Texas Gateway, sorry. Oh, it looks like it's a classroom resource. Texas Education Agency. So now I know what TEA stands for. So again, I'm just evaluating who's writing this, where is this coming from? And this seems to be an academic website, and so I may put more sources. Now, I may put more trust in this article than maybe some others. You know, if it was coming from bob.com, you know, Bob's opinions on the great causes of the Great Depression, maybe Wikipedia is like one of those places where individuals write the information, and so sometimes it's not accurate. Other people can come in and edit it, but you know, somebody could have updated it and written a bunch of nonsense, and then you're like the next person to come see it, and that's there. And so you have to be careful not to take things at face value, especially on Wikipedia. Over time, the whole idea of Wikipedia is that over time, users edit it and get rid of the misinformation or the non-factual information that may have crept in by somebody. And so over time, it's kind of self-regulating because other people look at it and go, well, that's not right. And then they get rid of it and then they add their entry or whatever. So we have to be careful to evaluate online information because anybody can publish anything. And one of the things as human beings that we tend to do is that we tend to weight things that are written more highly or higher than things that we hear. So if I have an opinion and I tell you, well, okay, so I'm going to tell you what the 5 causes of the Great Depression were. If you read it in a book, a history book, or you read it online, we tend to give that more weight. So we have to be careful that we do evaluate, because anybody can write anything. I could write all kinds of nonsense and make it sound very intelligent and very academic, and it's just a bunch of the horse manure. So we have to be able to evaluate who wrote it, what's the organization, who's publishing it. Like I said, I didn't know exactly what this was, and so I looked at about, and I found at the bottom that this is a Texas educational thing. So I'm going to give that a little bit more credence than I would maybe some other papers. Also, reading it. When you read it, you look for bias. Is there some kind of inherent bias? And you know, I'm doing Causes of the Great Depression, which I don't know how much bias there is there. But is somebody arguing a point? Are they trying to get a point across and they're leaving out stuff? So when we evaluate online information, we should look for credibility. And that basically comes back to, okay, who's publishing this? Who wrote it? And so in my 2 instances, it was history.com, so I figured that's fairly credible. And this place, which I also think is probably fairly credible. Accuracy. Again, it has to do with, well, how accurate is this information? Again, it kind of has to do with credibility, who's writing it, where is it coming from, how can we judge what is accurate if we don't know about it beforehand? Again, we look at the organization, we look at who's publishing it. Does it have links to the information that it's citing? So if you have an article that's saying, hey, there's a study that says blah, 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 is there a link to that study so you can go look at the study firsthand? If there isn't, you have to be a little bit wary. Are they just making this up? Or is the study kind of an iffy study so they don't actually want to, you know, have a link to it? So we have to be careful about that kind of things. And make sure that you don't just use one source. So if I'm doing my causes of the Great Depression here and I've narrowed it down, I want 3 main causes of the Great Depression, I'm going to go to multiple sources. I'm going to probably print out some pages from multiple sources, and then I'm going to read that and make sure that what they're saying meshes together. And so when you're looking at multiple sources that you think are credible, then you can see where they have differences, and you go, hey, wait a second, this is saying the opposite of this. And so then you have to do a little bit more digging, a little bit more research to kind of figure out what's going on. So that's one way to do that. Yeah, so, you know, evaluating what we're seeing online is very important. Now, I did want to talk about web browsers a little bit. So, right, one way to view multiple pages in a web browser is to use multiple tabs. So most web browsers have this feature. I think all of them do now. And so you can have multiple pages open at the same time and without opening multiple windows of the web browser. Here, let me go to Amazon for this one. Oh, yeah. There we go. So now I have Boots open. And by the way, I use tabs like this a lot. So I'll do a search for something, and then instead of clicking on it and looking at the information and then clicking the back button to go back to the previous page where I was, I'll just right click on the link and say open it in a new tab. And then I'll scroll down some more and I'll say, ooh, these look interesting, and I'll open it in a new tab. And so let's say that I scroll down and I want to look at those, and then I scroll down and I want to look at these. So now I have multiple tabs open, and maybe I get to the bottom of the page and I go, okay, I'm going to click on page 2 here, and then I'm going to go look at these. And then I'm looking at the details of, I don't know why I typed in boots, but these boots. And then, I kind of like these, maybe let me look at these. And so I'll look at these and I'll say, oh, no, I don't like those. Let me get rid of that. Well, these are interesting. Let me look at these. Right? And maybe I'll keep those up. No, I don't like those, so I'll close that. Oh, those are for women. I don't need those. So I'll close that. And now I've got 2 tabs open. And in this case, I'm kind of doing product research. I'm looking for something. So I have these 2 tabs open, and I go, okay, well, let me go back to Amazon. And now the next page is loaded. And so I can go through these and maybe open some new tabs here and then compare those. So we use tabs a lot. It makes our life a little bit easier. We don't have to click on it, go to it, look at all of the details, then come back. The other thing is sometimes we want to save a particular URL. So let's say that I'm here at this introduction, what is the Great Depression, and I want to save this web page. So I can bookmark this. So in Firefox, a saved URL is called a bookmark. In Edge or Internet Explorer, and I'm not sure about Chrome, I think in Chrome it's called a bookmark too, but I know it's called a favorite in the Microsoft browsers. I'm not sure what it's called in Safari. But in this case, I can save it. So I'm going to say, it's called a bookmark here. So I'll say, what's going on? I'm here. Bookmark this page. Boom. Done. Now, later on when I want to come back to it, and you know this, I can just go to my bookmarks. I can say, actually, I could just go to my, where is it? View history and save bookmarks here. Great Depression, cause of the Great Depression. Here's my, well, I can go to bookmarks here. So if I just go to bookmarks, here is the last bookmark. I will click on that, and it takes me back to that page. So instead of writing it down on and by the way, a bookmark does not save the web page. It saves the URL. It's only saving this right here. So sometimes your older bookmarks, the page will go away or the URL will get changed, and so they stop working. So that can be a bit of a pain in the butt. But because we're not actually saving the information on the page, you can jump through a couple of hoops and do that. But normally we're just saving the URL. So a bookmark or a favorite is a saved URL. It's part of our web browser so that we don't have to write down, oh, I like this page, what's the URL? And put it on a Post-it note and stick it to my monitor. So that's what bookmarks are. What else do we have? Really, that's it as far as the internet goes. So, what am I doing? Stop sharing. So, basically, we know that the internet is a network of networks, that in order to have an internet connection, we need an ISP. So, and we have some kind of internet connection that we are paying for. And then we use a web browser, which is a program that lets us look at web pages to view and view information online about whatever it is that we're looking for. And typically to find it, to find things, we use some kind of search engine. Remember that web pages are files, they are saved information, that because it's a file, it needs to be stored on a particular computer, and that computer is called a web server. And so when we are actually typing in, like, all of the information that I looked for, what I'm really doing is I'm asking a computer that's far away to send me that information. So basically, I'm kind of logging onto that web servers and saying, hey, send me that particular web page, the information for that particular web page, and send it to my computer. So if you can see it on your screen, it's been sent to your computer. It's put in what we call the web browser's cache file. Basically, it's a bunch of temporary files, but that information, that data has been transferred to this computer here. And there you go. So next up will be module 3, which is computer hardware. So that's what's next. Well, hell, I'll see you guys later. So let me stop recording. I always say that.